Hey, Raavia. Um, this is my attempt to answer your question about what specifically you aren't turning in that I'm asking for. And I'll say that I'm looking at assignment three right now, and I just graded assignment four for you, and it was better. So maybe we've already solved this problem. But if not, I want to, just do my best to help make it clear. First I'll say, I mean, if you haven't done this kind of thing before, I'm not. Uh, I admit that it can be complicated, and so let's just get to the end goal and not worry about how messy it is getting there. Um, but what I've done to try to make this straightforward is two things. I am giving you every week a as detailed as I can uh, assignment set of assignment instructions, and I am so far at least I've given you a video that you're supposed to watch beforehand. And really, so this is why I'm somewhat confused because, for example, if I look at this video I start with the assignment and I go through and I talk about pretty much everything that is in detail. And I actually do it. That was the point, is I'm actually going doing a step-by-step run through this assignment, and so you could just open up your file and do this with me, and you should do really well if you did that. So you have to let me know why that isn't working or what's confusing about that. Um, okay, so having said that, let's just try to dig into this a little bit. Oh, and the other thing to remember is that every assignment already has a grading rubric that's with it, and these are directly tied to the assignment itself. So if you look at these both together, um, it really should help you uh, understand what's going on. And the idea for this class, and really, so I mean, I think the only way it can really work well, or really well, is if you watch the video before class and you try it before class, or you at least look at the assignment and see if you understand what you're going to be doing. That way, you can ask me these questions in class, and we can have a back and forth discussion. That's what it's supposed to be, right? If people aren't watching the video and trying it before class, then um, I am showing them something in class, and I'm not even going over the whole assignment because I've already done it on a video, and I figure that's really boring. Um, then you're missing important information, I think. So I may decide to switch that in mid-semester here because there are other people who are not who are not watching videos before class, and so or it's not completely working the way I thought. So I may adjust it, and you should let me know. I can change it, however, to help you, make our class time really productive. Anyway, so if I look at I'm looking at the assignment. I look at your what you turned in. Um, there's some, there's definitely some things in here that are right, but a lot of it's not directly connected. And I think that there's maybe a source of confusion that I would understand if there wasn't a video, because you're just doing a number of simulations and they're not inaccurate. I mean, I can tell that you know what buttons to push in Climate Studio, but they're not following this order, first of all. So I would suggest you just look at the order that's in the assignment if you're struggling with this, and just follow along and try to do it step by step. And if you're watching the video, then that's going to be what I'm doing there too. So um, should be pretty clear what I'm asking for. Um, but so let's go through this. And I'm sorry this is a little bit long and boring, but I'm just trying to answer your question. So you downloaded the file, and I try to make a goal, start understanding the dynamics of daylightings in larger buildings. We did smaller buildings the week before. Um, you downloaded the model, good. Um, included this here. This is the second week I would have been talking about lead. This is what we're doing. This is just a simple chart from LEED, but this is what we're doing from LEED 4.1. We're trying to meet the daylighting requirements, and I've talked about a lot in class that there's two basic requirements. SDA is, do we have enough sun, and ASE, do we have too much? But those are numbers that we're trying to get 75% SDA and less than 10% ASE in all spaces. So we need to see the numbers and not just the colors. Um, so that's one thing. And then, so we're going to the standards. That's always, what we're doing. There's a benchmark we've got, and we're modeling to that. Then I do see that you went and got your location from this file, so that's great. Um, and I can tell you did that because you have Los Angeles here. However, you don't say anywhere that you're in Los Angeles. You don't make that clear. So, remember that this is a presentation, not really for me as notes. It's supposed to be a presentation where anybody could kind of find this in the street and understand what you were doing. So it should be clearer that you're in Los Angeles and, a map or something, or just some way that we know what's going on here rather than just having to figure it out. Um, then you have site analysis graph, which what does site analysis graph even mean? Do you know? My guess would be that you don't understand this chart, and I'm pretty sure you don't understand this chart. And here's another document that I'm preparing. I'm burying you guys in documents, so maybe that's too much. Every week, I'm not always going to do this. I'm not guaranteeing it, but when I'm grading, I've been making a list of comments. And so rather than repeating the comments over and over again, I'm just making a master list and giving this to you on Canvas so that you can see why I might have taken points off. But one thing that's being repeated week after week is this documentation section. I'm actually being really lenient in grading documentation, but it's important that you start thinking about this. Definitely, this is really important. Unneeded information and layout. So if there's stuff that's not needed, that's just there because it was easier to screenshot, or if you don't understand it, never include anything in documentation that you don't understand, because then somebody's going to ask you a question about it, and then you really lose all credibility when you can't describe the thing that you actually put on a slide, right? So my bet is that these two things fall into that category. If not, fine, but they're not part of the assignment. They're not part of this daylighting analysis. So that's and I would ask you then why they're there. They definitely weren't in the video, and they're not mentioned in this in here. So I'm not sure where you got the idea that you needed to put those in. Um, and then I've got this list of simulations that I'm expecting to see step by step. I would go step by step here. It seems like maybe you were confused when I say um, that you're supposed to do a baseline. Let's see. It says here, run a baseline simulation. That's the first thing you're doing. And I'm thinking you're going, well, which is the baseline of what? I don't understand which one I'm doing, so I'm just going to add a bunch of stuff in here. Um, Okay, and that's where if you would have watched the video and looked at the assignment before class, which is what I'm asking, no books, no reading assignments, that's the assignment for the week in addition to the whatever the exercise is you're working on from the previous week. If you would have done that, I think that you would have understood what I'm saying here, and what's spelled out here is that this is a lead 4.1 simulation we're doing. So how do we do lead 4.1 simulations? Well, um, that is this. There's a very specific way we do it. We go to daylight availability, and in daylight availability, there are a number of options we could pick, like daylight factor, but we're picking lead 4.1. And so if I look at the lead 4.1 runs that I did, because I just did this assignment basically in a simple way, um, here's my lead 4.1 analysis, here's SDA, here's ASE, the things I was talking about, here's my credits and lead. And I've talked about this in some detail, but we could talk about it again if you don't get it yet. How this works, because for example, this is an average over all spaces, and this is for individual spaces. So you would want to come down here and um, look at the percentages for individual rooms. That's not made clear in the assignment because that's things we're covering in class, and the assignment would be 50 pages long if I talk about every single thing in detail like that. So my point is that if we go back to the assignment instructions, you were supposed to do, and remember, I did it in this video. I went step by step. So um, if you do that process, I'm not going to abandon you. You should be fine. Then, so the baseline, um, simulation was a lead 4.1 simulation, and so it would be this. And what you have here is, first of all, some site information, and then you've got a glare study right off the bat. And then you have something called illuminance. Um, and illuminance of what? That doesn't really tell me anything. So it's kind of clear from looking at this that you're not getting what, kind of the baseline of what we're doing, which is fine. That's why I would hope you'd watch the video and then talk in class about it. All right, you got to be interactive with me with this stuff, or you're going to be confused. I mean, it's understandable. So here's another luminance, luminance, illuminance. All of these are things that the only time I mention illuminance in this assignment is to do a point in time illuminance study here. Okay, so what I'm looking for here is that you would run like a baseline lead analysis that just with the building like it is, no shading or anything like that, come up with a value. Yours is going to be different because you have a different um, climate. I'm just doing New York, and that's why I picked all these different climates, just because so we would have some variety. Um, and then we get a baseline. So this is the baseline I ran, and you might look at it from here. SDA, do we have enough sun? Yeah, we have tons of sun, but we have way too much in a lot of rooms. That was the point. That's the baseline. And then from here, I have to improve the performance toward the lead requirements. And that is stated here. Are you heading toward lead? Have you met the lead 4.1 standard? That's the point of everything you're doing in this assignment. Okay, so I would want to see, and so what did I do? And again, this is in the video. I first ran a baseline, then I added blinds, and there's a way to do that. I don't know if you actually added blinds or not, because I can't tell if you added blinds unless I see this value changing, because you see here, no blinds. The blinds are open all the time. This is how, once I have blinds on, there's a percentage here. I'll also see a percentage um, in the glazing sections of my building. This is telling me that these blinds are open 71% of the time. They're only open 39% of the time here in the south, which means, yikes, I've just basically have the blinds closed half the time. That seems kind of like a dumb approach, right? That's the sort of idea here. And so if we go back to this, well, let me say another thing. So I need to see these numbers here, right, to understand if I'm trying to head towards 75% here as an average and everything less than 10% here in individual rooms, I need to see numbers here, right? And that needs to be part of my documentation. And it needs to be part of your understanding so that you're iterating to change these numbers in the direction we're trying to go, which is to have this not go down too much and this go way down. Now, illumination would be here, but we're not talking about illumination really at all in this particular assignment. Illumination is about how much light, so how much lux, that's the unit in the metric system, is hitting this work surface. I don't know if you remember that we created a work surface that's off the ground. That's because we're saying this is where we want to study the amount of light because this is where the work is going to be happening, like desk height in this example. So this is interesting information, and definitely graphically, it's something that's more nuanced, and I can change it by changing this range down here than these two. So I might want to use it for something, but it's not part of um, what I'm asking for here, at least not initially. So I'm saying I want you to do a baseline simulation with single pane clear glass. Um, That's another thing that you can ask me about if you don't know what that means, but it's a specific kind of glass that we would use. I'm trying to use something that has very high visible transmittance so that we get tons of light inside. Then we add blinds and see what that does. Then we start, because again, we're trying to iterate toward this lead 4.1 benchmark. Then we add blinds. Then we change the glazing types and or mounts so we could make the windows smaller or larger, or we could just change the material uh, to improve our outputs toward lead 4.1. So in my version, what that meant was initially I changed to a low T-Viz glass. So if I look here at this one with blinds, I have glazing that's 91%, a TVIS of 91%. And then here I changed it to low vis, and I can see that in this run I had 36% TVIS. That means only 36% of the visible light is coming through the glass. That's what we're measuring with daylighting. So just by changing the glass, I drastically changed between these two, right? So now well, it's not actually that drastic, but it's a lot in certain rooms. I take that back. It's not a lot in certain rooms. It's a lot in terms of our SDA. So, for example, here's my um, run with the blinds, and I've got an 87% SDA, 88%, and 40% ASC totals with some in like these down here in the south side are really high, 72%, 80, 84. I come here with a lower T-Viz. Now I've actually gone well below my 75%, so I've actually cut back the amount of daylight coming in too much. And I've improved this ASC a little bit, but not really enough to, so that was a bad move going from here to here. And if you don't understand why, that's something else we can talk about separately. But the point is, that's what you're doing here, is that you're um, trying to, let's go back to the assignment. We're saying we are changing the glazing types or amounts to improve outputs toward lead 4.1. So I would want to see a clear that you changed the glazing. You told me how you changed it, what the T-Viz difference was, and then you showed me the difference in the numerical changes in the lead 4.1 outputs here. What you did was, first of all, you have glare, you have luminance, which I think is point in time illuminance. I don't really know for sure because you don't show me anything that I can analyze that with. Um, and then you might have changed glazing somewhere here. I can't really, it should be in order. I don't really see it as that you did, so maybe you didn't understand that. Um, right? And so I don't really actually see anywhere that I know that you did a lead 4.1 analysis. These could all be point in time illuminance renders because you're not, and it looks like it is here. So I think maybe you're not understanding the lead part of this. So that would mean then that if I go back to, um, the assignment, um, I'm giving you, see, I'm maybe not able to give you full credit for that because I'm not seeing I don't know if it's an illuminance or a lead 4.1. I mean, I don't know if that's a point in time illuminance or a lead 4.1. Um, you you add, okay, wait, let's see. Now I'm seeing that you do have blinds on here and you are running a full daylighting analysis here. I don't know which is one this is connected to. And I don't, so it's unclear to me because we have now this here and this here. Which one is this connected to? And is it connected to this one? It's very confusing. Um, and I don't see any that didn't have blinds. So I'm only seeing blinds. So as I'm grading this, then I'm confused as to how to grade it, and also I'm confused as to whether or not you're getting it. Um, You did run an annual glare simulation, so I can come back and see that you did that and go, okay, she's got that here. But the idea with this was supposed to be, let's see what it says. So you're supposed to run, so we talked about that. You ran an annual glare simulation. I would give you the full point for that. But then you're supposed to use a radiance rendering to identify potential shading strategies, screenshot at least one render. So I know you did do that, which is great. Render one, render two, render three. What is the point of them though? See, there's a whole the idea of these renders is very specific about we want it. So this range of color is just something we preset, and what we want to see is the sun here. So we want to change that range until we can see an orb of the sun. That's covered in the video, and I've talked about it in class. I could be happy to talk about it again. Um, but the idea is supposed to be that, let me show you in mine, that I am, when I get down to it, so here's a glare analysis. Um, And if let's say I'm on a baseline glare and I say, yeah, what's the whole point of the glare thing? We could have, let's go back to this. We could say, I've got the amount of, I've got enough, well, actually here, I've got enough daylighting. I've got too much, but I'll deal with that in whatever way. But even, or let's say this was even meeting the standard, it still might be uncomfortable in the space because of glare. So we have to do a glare study. And if we do that, we're looking at these little view sheds. Basically, this is like I'm looking in that direction, I'm looking in this direction. And so the way I would use this is to say, okay, I'm going to go in and and pick a time that I want to look at where the sun is with a radiance render and create a strategy for how I'm going to block the sun that's there at the time. So what you're showing here is that you show that you're knowing how to do a radiance render. Good job. But you're not showing me that you know what to do with it. So that would be something that I would take some points off for, not very many probably. Um, and then the big one though is that um, I asked you to do a point in time illuminance, two of those runs. That's I'm not even going to talk about right because this is getting really long. I'm sorry. Um, there's a reason why I asked you to do that. I think that you did do them, but you didn't tell me what you didn't show their when they were done. So if these are point in time means that you're picking a specific time because we're trying to study a moment in time. And I don't think this one is because it looks like it's general to me. Um, this one looks like a point in time to me. Um, so I bet this was with a specific time, like a date and a time of day chosen. Um, but again, that was supposed to be then sort of at the end, and it wasn't. Yeah, here we go again. Um, it wasn't part of the lead analysis, which again at the end what we're really saying is did we meet lead? And that for me is I start getting down here and um, at this point I didn't not quite in the SDA. I could go and adjust my glazing or something to get that up to 75, but I'm doing really well in my. Sorry, I'm trying to find there it is. Sometimes hard to find that little and to get it to activate. Oh, it was just fully extended, so I have to do this. Um, I still have some spaces that are over 10%, but I know I can go fix those. Anyway, I wasn't trying to, and I wouldn't even, you don't have to get all the way to lead 4.1, but you need to say something about where you are at the end, right? And so if we go to your, um, what you turned in, there's nothing saying anything about where you are in terms of lead compliance. So that's a long way of saying that I think that if you know, watch whatever videos I provide. If you do, I know you're busy, but if you do it before class and you come asking questions, then you're going to get these done by the end of class almost, or you're really going to be in good stead, I would think, because you've got to be able to ask me these questions beforehand. There's nothing you're doing wrong. You're just not getting the information you need, um, and that's has to do with you putting in effort at the right time. All right, I hope this helped. Keep talking with me. We'll get it figured out. Talk to you in class.